Everyone, PK Gupta here, and this right here is Josh Smith. Actually, it's really interesting because last year, Josh, he did my course and he wrote a blog. He's got this massive blog site. I forget what it's called. I'll ask him in a second. And it blew up. All right. And it blew up. And it was like an independent blog about my course. I didn't know it was going to happen. And it had some flattering things to say, but also some not so flattering things to say. So I thought, like, in the interest of everyone learning and in the interest of everyone really understanding the pros and cons of my course, I thought I'd ask him, and he said, yes, to come on to an episode and actually share his own experiences because he's been an investor for 12 years. He's bought and sold property. He's made mistakes. He's done other courses, he's done other seminars. So giving you a real interesting perspective of a real human being who's kind of been there, done that, done my course, has some good things to say, has some improvements to suggest, and just a real life story that you guys can kind of sink your teeth into and see whether my course is right for you or not, or maybe it's someone else's. Welcome to the Oz Property Investment Mastery Podcast. My name's PK and I help busy people build passive income by buying top 5% growth and cash flow property and build a portfolio using data without wasting months doing research, spending weekends at inspection or catching flights, or dropping $10,000 to $20,000 on buyer's agents every single time. So if you're confused, lack confidence, and just overwhelmed with all the information and marketing misinformation available online and don't know where to start, then this show is for you. Thank you, Josh. I really appreciate you making time.
Yeah, PK, you're welcome.
So maybe we'll start from the start. We'll get to why you did my course and what you got out of it and stuff. But like, what has your property journey been like? Like, when did you start? I suppose, how many properties did you buy? How did you fare? All those kinds of things.
Yeah, sure. So I started in my early 20s. I was working in the mines. I spent 6 years in the mines. And so, doing fly in, fly out, living at home, six-figure income, and then thought property was the way. So by the age of 23, I owned four properties. And I've made money in property investing, but I've also lost money in property investing. So I've experienced both worlds of it. Um, and of course, during my early 20s, I went to a lot of the seminars that I think some of the audience here would be familiar with, bought some courses, read some books, but I sort of back at the journey now, realizing I was so young and naive, and I didn't really have a strategy apart from, going towards regional areas or coastal areas and just not quite knowing the statistics, just like taking shots in the dark. And so coming to your course last year was something I felt very refreshing to see someone who actually led with a strategy and also had a strong community, but without the vibes that I'd seen in the industry over the last 12 years of the run back to the back of the room seminars and all that. So yeah.
So maybe kind of like just take us on a bit of a journey, because so for those people who are like brand new to property investing, it's almost like they're prey, and they're prey to these predators who are property experts, myself included. So like what were the mistakes that you made, or what were the seminars, or what was the stench of salesmanship that people should avoid when going to seminars or doing courses or things like that? And then I guess ultimately, like, how did you lose money by doing that?
Yeah, sure. So for me, it was buying in places where I thought, we've got, resources boom and expecting, you've got all these mine types coming on board. That, of course, that's going to bring the properties up, not realizing, well, there's actually a lot of land around here that they can build additional houses here anyway if they need to. And in regions where people might not necessarily actually want to live over the long term as a tenant. So yeah, that, and also in terms of the seminars, it's just that hype and sensationalism, which I think at that age you sort of more, or you're less reluctant to say no to that sort of thing because you're in the time of your life where anything is possible. Whereas you come into your 30s and you sort of feel a bit jaded and a bit more rational as well. So yeah, buying at a time where, you know, limited time offer and that sort of thing. Looking back, it's definitely morally maybe not the right thing to do. So yeah, that's why I found your course. It's like it's the same price all the time. There's no pressure. It's you come in when you're ready.
Right.
Yeah.
So it sounds like it's almost like a story of someone who dived into the deep end, like head first when they were very young and had some
Yes.
success and also could have done better because they potentially followed the wrong strategies or didn't know like what they didn't know because of naivety. We're all naive when we're, younger than we are now.
Yep.
So coming to like the course, you did sorry, before we go on, what's the website name or what's your blog name again?
Oh, yes, sure. So it's workwithjoshua.com. I've been blogging there for this October would actually be 12 years. So yeah, 11 and a half years now. And it's had over 1 million views in its lifetime. Just last month had 100, just over 120,000 users. So it's trending up. It's becoming more popular.
I was very, like when you wrote that blog, of course, I was like, I have to read every single word of it, see what it says and everything, because of course you're a client.
Yeah.
And I wanted to, have a good impression out there in the world. Um, but let's be truthful, like what were the positives of the course and what were the negatives of the course? There's no such thing as a perfect thing. If it's perfect, it's often too good to be true, or there's
Hmm.
fake reviews somewhere, or paid actors, or some sort of
Yeah.
dodgy stuff going on. So like oftentimes I get that I have an average rating of 4.9 stars on Google with, over 200 reviews. People think that's made up, but it's not. But let's kind of go into the pros and also to the negatives. So what were the key things that you thought stood out in your 12 years of property experience of how the course, delivered value?
Yeah, sure. So I've talked about a little bit of the pros already, but um, the other strong point was the community aspect of it. Like, yes, you've got the Facebook group, but then there's this sort of the other community, which is for the paid members. So I find that that community is more refined. They're asking sort of better quality questions along the way. And then I see your responses there all the time too, which is so refreshing to see, which sometimes you might not see that in another course whereby, there's a series of coaches and then the guy at the top or girl at the top, and they're not actually there in their own community. There's that. There's the sort of the 6 week. It's all laid out 6 weeks. Yes, you could get it done in a week or two, but I think that would be quite overwhelming. And then of course you've got a lot of the handouts. And yeah, it's um, quite systematized. So which at the same time is sort of a bit of a negative because like I've talked about it in the review that the pace of the videos is a little bit slower, which I think most people having watched your YouTube video already know your style anyway. It's less sensationalized, it's more just rational. And of course, I think the other negative was maybe the price of the course, which it depends on what people see as valuable. So obviously, there's been quite a few people have bought the course. And have found value in the price at the moment. So yeah,
Yeah.
it's
And just to
some
kind of
people
deep
find it expensive. Some people find it like just like, oh wow, that's all, like in terms of price, because they've been used to the you go to the seminar and it's $4,000 for a course, but hang on, what about the $25,000 upsell that you're going to be sold later? They're not saying that now, but that's what's coming. So whereas here it's a set price and that's it. There's no upsell.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. That's kind of something I sort of pride myself on. There is no upsell. Like the
yeah.
price is not cheap. It's a premium product for a premium result. It works, but there's no further upsell for the tools or coaches or lifetime mentorship. It's all included. I think one thing that I would like to kind of further deep dive just for a second is,
Hmm.
when you see the price tag, $6,000. Do you get like sticker shock? Do because you've done other courses, you've done other seminars and things like that. How does that rate? Like, is this on the higher end compared to what's out there? Is it on the lower end? I mean, of course, there's very cheap things out there as well. And I think I've seen a
Mm.
$50,000 development course, which obviously mine's not a development course, but how do you kind of contextualize this in the property course or education frame of reference?
Yeah, so I would say it's in the middle ground, right? It's higher than what most people's base offers would be, but again, there's no upsell, so it sort of has to cater for the fact there is no upsell as well. So it sort of brings it back down to earth. So I think $6,000 for a course that you've got lifetime access to and for something that I think most people are going to buy a series of properties over the next 5 to 10 years for a one-time cost, whereas you might spend how much for a buyer's agent, $10,000, $20,000 for $6,000 for one time. I just felt that that was a much better decision so that I'm better educated, even though I've already come in with a lot of education. I was just bringing everything together and having sort of, laid out for me in a system as opposed to being so fragmented.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And please be honest here, but did you
Mm.
find that because, the unique value proposition, to use a
Hmm.
a cliched term, of the
Hmm.
course is that it's data driven.
Yeah.
Did you find the data driven aspect convoluted? Did you find it ambiguous? Did you find it difficult to follow? Or was it kind of like, oh, anyone can do it? Doesn't matter if you're a software engineer, doesn't matter if you're a nurse or a teacher or IT
Hmm.
professional, banker. Please be honest as well. Like, what was your
Yeah.
experience absorbing the videos, using the videos, putting it in our system, the tools that I
Yeah.
provide? Did you find that straightforward, or did you kind of have to rewatch some videos, scratch your head, ask for help, etc.?
Yeah, so that's definitely a module that I'll have to go through back for a second time, especially when I'm ready to buy that next property, because even though I'm someone that is also like data driven, I run a blog, a series of blogs, and it's all about data and keywords and all this sort of stuff. I still found it a bit overwhelming. So yes, most people can do it, but there are going to be some people that struggle a little with it, and some people that will struggle a lot more and struggle a lot more than I do. And that means, going back through that module again, asking questions, and just repeating that process until it starts to make sense. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's sort of been my experience as well. Like the mentoring, the asking questions is honestly like, I feel the most important part of the course. You can teach someone how to skydive on the ground, how to, what technique, how to, jump off the plane, how to wear the parachute. But when you're up there 30,000 feet in the sky, and you, you need to jump, you just need someone to be like, am I good? Am I doing it right? Can you jump with me? And so I feel like, in my experience anyway, like helping so many people, the mentoring element is like, yep, you have indeed selected the right suburb. And when they send properties to me, it's like, oh no, you've actually made this mistake. You've overlooked this critical aspect. Perhaps there's an easement there, or perhaps
Mm,
there's another factor that they've overlooked. And it's like, no, no, that's actually not a good property. You've missed that factor. Go back
mm,
and look at it again, give it a miss. And I kind of feel just as much pride in shooting down a property or turning down a property, and kind of, I don't know, sometimes you deflate the client because they're all emotionally attached to a property, but it's like, hey, you're gonna regret this. Don't go for this one. Go back to the drawing board, be patient, be enthusiastic, but be patient at the same time. So I feel that the people who do quote unquote struggle, or have to watch the videos a couple of times to understand them, if they ask the questions on demand, then that's really what gets them, that's what
mhm.
gets them the result. And you've obviously done that
Yeah.
really well as well. But that's enough
Hmm.
sort of pros about the course. What did you find was like, I don't know, it seems that you thought that the 6K price tag was worth it, but what did you find that I should spend more time on in the course, or go in more depth, or flesh out more for it to be even more worth its value?
Yeah, I didn't find anywhere that I felt like, oh, I need something extra over here. Um, and I'm sure a lot of that stuff, if I did think of it, would probably be covered in the YouTube content already, because there's a lot there already. Um, yeah, I guess the other thing was the pace of the course. And sorry to mention it again, but yeah, it's just I think a lot of people are used to that. A bit of sensationalism, so to speak. Your style is much more calming, relaxing, which is great. It works, and people like it. But when you're trying to do this course on a Sunday afternoon, you're a bit tired. And it's not just me. Like my brother-in-laws have also done your course, and they've had the same issue. And it's not a big issue. It's
You're
just,
basically saying I'm
and we
boring. Is
can't
that what
change.
you're
You
saying?
know, I can't. We can't. You can't change it. We can't change it. I'll just say speed the videos up to 1.5x, and you'll get through it. So that's what it is.
Yeah.
That's yeah, yeah,
Okay. I'll
yeah.
take that in a
There's
positive
nothing we
light.
can. There's nothing we can do. Nothing. I'm very calming as well. My voice is a bit funny, but it's yeah. It is what it is. But it's just yeah. It's worth mentioning.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
I do get some like let's say a husband purchases the course and they
Yeah.
buy a property, they're all happy and stuff. Sometimes the wife will email me later and say, we were used to watch your videos throughout the course, after 10 p.m. when the kids are asleep. And oftentimes it would put me to sleep as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like yeah, it's
Oh,
not entertainment, but at the
yeah.
same time, like I do get a few emails. I don't know if this was your experience as well. Like when you
Mm,
start to have those gears in your brain, in your mind, start clicking and understanding true property strategy, true property
yeah.
economics, mechanics of how to build a portfolio, it's kind of like almost like an aha moment. It's like, oh, that finally makes sense, and that fits in there, and that finally matches, and that pairs up. And
Hmm.
people tend to get excited, even though I'm a boring person, apparently. It's the
I didn't
concept
say
is
that.
exciting. No, no,
Yeah.
I'm just joking around. One thing I want to pick on, Josh, I don't know if it's fair to pick on this, but in the blog you do say that the renovation side of things in the
Mm,
course in week 6 or module 6 of the course are perhaps a bit light on.
that's
Now
right. Yeah.
this is not a flip course. You don't do
Mm,
my course to flip properties and make hundreds of thousands of dollars. We do cosmetically renovate properties remotely without catching flights to withdraw equity. Getting a 2x, 3x return on our investment, withdraw equity, and then buy another property using the deposit. But like, were you kind of going in thinking that, oh, hey, this would replace a Cherie Barber course renovation or a Jane Slack Smith
mm.
renovation course? Or like, what was kind of your expectations, I suppose, from module 6?
No, I just certainly I don't see it as a renovation course. It's definitely a long-term property investors course for someone that wants to build a portfolio in the next, 5, 10, 15 years. Um, I just think that you could have been a little bit more in there, perhaps a little bit more beyond just the cosmetics of both the inside and the outside, but maybe there's some structural things, adding the extra bedroom, is one example. Certainly not, creating an entire another course just on that, but somewhere between a full course and where we are today would be, I think, good. And I don't know if there's a few other members that would agree, just to have maybe that little bit extra where it's like, well, okay, now that I know this, I don't have to go and spend X amount of dollars with other people who maybe teach renovations because I've got enough here already. And
Yeah.
if that means bringing on someone else who's an expert, just to cover a bit more over there in that renovation space, I think that would be helpful to the students. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's really good feedback. And it's I suppose
Mm.
through feedback that you also get better and you also
Yes.
improve the delivery of what you're offering. So I appreciate that. And I always sort of say very openly, honestly, that if you want to learn options, property options and how to trade
Mm.
options, my course, the Property Investment Accelerator, is not for you. Probably I've not done it, but I've heard Mark Rolton, he has a course on that. Maybe go
Mm.
explore that. Haven't done it, can't recommend it, but it covers that. If you want to do property development, like really, really complex, 8-pack townhouses or something like that, once again, my course is not covering sophisticated property development. Maybe, she's got a lot of good reviews, and as any course creator, some negative reviews as well. But on balance, I would probably say that a person like Dimfna Boho, I love real estate,
Mhm.
her course is probably better than mine for property development because that's what it focuses on, right?
Mhm.
Similar price point as well. Same with what we just mentioned. If you're looking to flip properties for a quick buck, maybe a person like Jane Slack Smith or Cherie Barber, they
Mhm.
dedicate their entire course to renovation. They don't look at growth. They don't look at high cash flow. They don't to my knowledge, look at data-driven insights on how to invest interstate without a buyer's agent, et cetera, et cetera. So I think it's really about not sort of targeting it at your inference there, but the person who's doing a course and wants to do a course, they should really not be a course junkie, but rather be selective around what's their strategy. Like, what do you actually
Yeah.
want to do? Because people who do my course, they're time strapped. You know, they have a couple of young kids, or they've got two jobs, like the husband and wife got two jobs, or whatever the case may be. It's like they only have a few extra hours, maybe 4, 5, 6 extra hours in the week to do a course, and they want to buy a property over the course of 1 or 2 months and then just rinse and repeat for the future. They don't have 20 hours a part-time job to do active strategies. So if you're kind of in that boat, then I would very openly and honestly and frankly say that an active strategy is not my course. Mine is for
Yeah.
passive people who want a passive income.
hmm
Would you kind of agree with that, or?
Yeah, I would definitely agree with that. Yeah. But also in terms of commercial property investing, is that something you're looking to now build within the course? More
Yeah,
emphasis on that too?
this is a really good question. I mean, commercial property, I noticed as well before you were saying that you're looking to foray into that.
Yeah.
Commercial has become like the I don't want to say fad because that doesn't do it justice. It's become very popular because of a
Yeah.
lot of podcasts out there talking about commercial. The awareness of commercial and its pros and cons have risen, but I do feel that, as with residential as well, and I'm guilty of it, as of course, as well, we tend to focus on the positives of a particular strategy, especially if it's coming from someone who's trying to sell you something, like a buyer's agent or course creator, than the negative. So commercial has been very lucrative over the last, especially last 3 years, but actually if you're going back to the start of the cycle, probably since 2013, 14. My
hmm
personal take is that it's not going to be as lucrative going forward in a quantitative tightening or at least stable interest rate environment, because interest rates are directly correlated with capital growth in commercial. So commercial is really just a cash flow play going forward. So to answer your question, am I going to flesh that out as part of my course? It's probably going to be a separate offering if I do it at all.
Okay. Yep.
I just want to make sure that if I am creating a commercial module or a commercial course, that people can actually make money from it, because I'll make money by selling the course. There's no doubt about that. But like, people need to be able to use that and make it implementable and then actually invest in a commercial deal. And commercial deals are like, hen's teeth. A good one is so incredibly rare to find because commercial real estate is just not as prevalent. There's not enough deals going around as residential, and it's typically been kind of the mainstay of people who are more high net wealth, sophisticated wholesale investors, and
hmm
people kind of buying in the sub $2 million mark haven't really had the greatest experience in commercial going back, stripping away the last 2 or 3 years, going back in
Yeah.
history. So this is just the stuff that plays on my mind, Josh. Uh, I can't give you a strict or direct answer, but I kind of have to weigh the pros and cons up.
Yeah, fair enough.
And maybe to wrap things up, or maybe two questions. One thing I get asked a lot, and I really want to ask you this as well, is, people don't want to pay $6,000 for theory. Okay, theory is great, but theory doesn't make you money. So in your experience, maybe juxtaposing it against other courses or seminars,
Mhm.
did you find that what you learned and the tools and templates and scripts and the team that I provide, did you find that it was like actionable, implementable, or conversely, did you kind of just soak it up in a very boring way, apparently, and was just like, oh, that's great to know, but I really have no idea on the how to actually make what PK is saying work for me?
I can definitely see how I can make it work for me, but the last when did I take the course? Around midway through last year. So the last 6 months I have not been in the mode of looking for properties or anything like that until probably the end of this year is when I'll actually get into it. So it's all there ready for me. Yes, there are times where I think, oh, this is great to know, but but there are also times where, yeah, okay, I can see how this handout and this cheat sheet would help. Things like I had no idea that you can actually hire a real estate agent to go and look at properties for you for $30 to $50 per property. Like,
Property
that's just
manager,
never
yeah, for
ever,
free actually, yeah.
yeah, never crossed my mind. Like, I was thinking, oh, okay, so how am I going to actually look at these properties remotely and be a borderless investor? Because I don't want to go and fly down anywhere. Personally, I just don't want to travel. So, and yeah, I had no idea that was even a thing. So it's things like that that are just nuggets of gold that are instantly actionable. And then there are other things that I could see how they will be actionable when I'm ready to restart my journey again. Yeah.
Right, right. No, that was like the biggest aha moment for me too, because like what I'm teaching is just stuff I experienced and I learned myself. You can be sitting here right now in the Gold Coast and buy in Perth, and you by using a property manager who you can trust, who doesn't have any hidden agendas for free, and they'll look at, within reason, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 properties, inspect them,
Hmm.
give you a report, just like a buyer's agent would, but even better because they live there, they're actually local,
Yeah.
and do all of that due diligence for you for free. Like, when I clicked onto that, many, many years ago, I was like, why isn't everyone doing this? It's almost like too good to be true.
Yeah.
Maybe the last question then, Josh, is like, of course, work with Joshua, .com.au. That
Just
is
dot com.
your just.com, sorry.
Yeah.
That is the website. When people read the somewhat flattering, somewhat not flattering review that you wrote, is there anything else that you want to comment about my course, or you want to add to your review right now if you have a chance to, that you want people to think about as they're reading it?
Not necessarily. I think the review's been updated a few times, just as um, I'd finished most of the course, and then I'd published the review, and then I'd just finish off the rest of the course. Then I just had to go back and just update some things, add in some things, subtract some things that I learned later. So keep in mind it is a rolling update, so the course review does get updated as your course gets updated. So if you decide to add in maybe a small commercial element or a small renovation element, that's something I'll update in the review. But again, it's not I'm not biased. Like, there are things in there, or not red flags so much, but just small criticisms that as I've outlaid in this interview, things that I think could be improved down the track. As a blogger, I'm always trying to, maintain that integrity as a blogger and remaining objective as possible. But every single day is a new learning experience, and you're only going to get better every day as you go along. So what you see today could be different than what you see next month. Yeah,
All right.
like taking the example of this interview, I'm going to get better with interviews as I go on.
No,
Yeah.
you are great. I mean, I can't create a website that gets 1 million views. So like we all have our
That's the goal this year, actually. I'm trying to aim for 1 month of 1 million views.
wow,
Yeah,
wow.
and it'll probably be around October, November that I get it. I mean, I've already, say last month, January, I had 150,000 page views of like 120,000 users. So
Amazing. I
yeah,
mean,
yeah,
I'm
it's
just happy that my website gets like 10,000 views a month. I'm like, that's
yeah.
good enough for me, you know what I mean? But I'll leave the link to your website, workwithjoshua.com, in the description to this episode down below. Guys, go check it out. And I just want to emphasize that I didn't like pay. Everyone's going to think I didn't pay Joshua to like come on this interview. I didn't pay him to write that blog. I myself was like, got my heart beating when it was finally published. I was like, oh, what's it gonna say? It's like, but I was pleasantly surprised. But there were some improvements to make as well, on from my side in my course, which I'm trying to do so. But yeah, just once again, this is not intended to be like a promotional type video. I'm not for everyone. My course is not for everyone, just like I've mentioned. But what we're trying to do in this video, and what Josh has brilliantly done, I actually think it's a very well written blog, is lay out what the course actually is from someone who's done it for real.
Hmm.
And so you guys can figure out, is it for you or is it not? It's not a cheap course, premium product, premium result. Now, is it valuable? That's a subjective thing. For some people, you'll think, oh, yes, it's valuable. Like some clients say it should be worth $50,000. So, I'm just being like completely honest. I get all sorts of feedback, and that is the intention of this, to actually just share that. So thank you so much, Josh, for actually making time. And was there anything lastly that you wanted to mention?
Yeah, look, one of my mentors famously said several times, he said, you're either going to pay with your time or you're going to pay with your money, right? Nobody needs to go and buy your course, right? They can learn a lot from stuff from YouTube, reading books, going to seminars, jumping on forums. But my personal experience is that that strategy is something I've done has cost me money. Now, like the opposite of that is, paying for a course. That doesn't guarantee that you're going to be successful. You still have to put in the work, and there's still an element of risk and responsibility on your part to make sure that you're following the steps. And know, as an investor, that still comes with risk, right? Whether that's a market risk, and things going south, or a tenant risk, or a regional risk, flooding, for example, bushfires. So yeah, just yeah, education is a wonderful thing, and just keep in mind that you could get it all for free, but it depends. It could cost you in the end if you're trying to get it all for free. You're going to pay either way. Yeah,
Yeah. Price is what you pay, value is what you get. There are many,
yeah,
many, many cheaper courses out there. In fact, if you Google real estate courses on Google, you'll be able to find like many for $500, $1,000,
yep,
$2,000. A lot of buyers agents will have ones for
hmm
$2,000, $3,000. But do they actually work, and what is the hidden agenda behind it? Does it upsell to their full service, to another course, to something else?
yeah,
That's what people have to make up their own minds. And just one last thing, you haven't asked me this and you didn't mention this in the blog, but I just thought I'd take the opportunity. People often ask like, oh, hey, PK, if you're so successful in property investing, like, why do you have to make money selling a course? Like it's the age old thing, like, oh, if you've done it, then why don't you just buy all the good properties? Or if you've done it and you truly have done it, then like, why do you have to like make even more money? Why don't you just sit on a beach? I mean, the answer is very clear. There's two aspects to the answer. One is something that you may or may not believe, but from my perspective, it's true. It's actually helping people, right? It's actually helping
hmm
people. When I get DMs, when I get emails back from clients because they've had a property revalued and it's gone up by X, that genuinely makes me happy. Like, believe it or not,
hmm
I'm not a saint or anything like that, but it does give a lot of satisfaction. So that's definitely one driving factor. And to be honest, the second driving factor is we live in a capitalistic society. Like I like to make money. Does that make me a bad person? Probably not. So the combination is, helping people. And then if you can get rewarded for that, financially, then you're onto something. That's what a business is. A business is adding value and getting paid in return. So that's why I do the course. Do I need to do the course? No, not really. But I don't know what else I would do, to be honest. I love this, and hopefully my community sees that.
Yes, yeah, yeah. Well, I'm going to be blogging for the next 10 years. I love it. So yeah, if you
Yeah.
find what you love to do, I think there's a quote behind that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Josh. Yeah, we've kind of gone over time, but I really do appreciate it. And may I think your blog has like a commenting function, so I'll link it here. But
Yes.
if
Yeah.
if people want to ask more questions to you directly, warts and all, you can just
Yep.
comment on Josh's blog on that
Yep.
article.
Yeah, sure, no worries. And they can also email to me too if they want me to answer a question that's perhaps a little bit more private. Um, and yeah, no strings attached. Yeah.
All right, sweet as
Yep.
well. Thank you so much, Josh, and thank you everyone. Thank you for being with me, and hopefully you understand the intention behind it. And we might catch up with Josh again in the future. Thanks again. See you guys.
Bye.